You're listening to the Marketing Funnel Show, episode number 2. You've heard the phrase, the money is in the list, right? Well, today we're talking about why that's a lie and where the money really is. Welcome to the Marketing Funnel Show. I'm your host, Michelle Evans, and this is the podcast for coaches, experts, and online business owners to learn how to go from simply surviving to sold out using the power of marketing funnels. All right, let's jump into today's show. Hey there, and welcome back to the show. You've heard the phrase, right? The money is in the list. Well, people online are talking about how the money is in your list all the time, and they spread that quote unquote truth like it's some sort of universal law. Spoiler alert, it's not true. At least not 100% true. So here's the deal. Is an email list important? Yeah, but just gathering names up onto your list is not going to magically transform into money in your business. And that's why whenever I hear people just spouting this supposed truth out to everybody like it's the gospel, I'm like, what? Because the truth is, about maybe like 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago or so, I had to take over 4,000 people off of my email list because they didn't care at all about what my business was about. And they weren't opening my emails, and they weren't responding, and they were just like a big bunch of dead weight because I had done some really terrible things, made some really bad mistakes, and people were just like, whatever, I'm not going to pay attention to you. So let me tell you about a story when I fell for that, the money's in your list lie, hook, line, and sinker. So in 2014, I decided to launch this mastermind program. It was more like a group coaching program, but I called it a mastermind. And it was really exciting. Like, I had really put together a full launch. I had videos, I had a webinar, I had PDF opt-ins. Like, I had tons and tons of stuff that I had put together for this to really make this launch pop, because I really wanted it to be the thing that helped my business take off. And this was late in 2014. And I ran through this. I spent 6 weeks just like building up momentum, got tons of people to opt in. I got almost 2,000 people to opt in. I worked so hard on this. I got over 2,000 people to register for my webinar. And I was just like, all right, things are working. People are showing up, all that kind of stuff. Gonna be honest, I didn't have a marketing funnel. So I put in a lot of work and I had checked all the boxes to get things. But I made a critical mistake that I see people making all the time. And it stands out to me because I made it in such a big way. So I had no marketing funnel. So people were added to my list. So either that they opted in to watch the video series or they opted in for the webinar, but then they just kind of hung out on my list. So I might have had a few emails to follow up, but there was not a strategic marketing funnel that I was putting them through to really warm them up. So I had an email list that was growing, and I had list growth that, some people, some of my peers and my friends that I had made, they were getting super envious, like, wow, Michelle, you're just adding people left and right. But it meant nothing to my business because I attracted freebie hunters, brain moochers, and non-buyers. And I know this because I ran my webinar and I had over 80 people sign up for a sales call with me. 80. And not all of them showed up for their sales calls. I don't remember specifically how many showed up, but let's say 55 to 60 showed up. So I had 55 to 60 sales calls in a 10, 12 day period. And you know what? Nobody bought. Not one person bought from me. Now, I am not so great at sales, but I'm going to be honest with you. When you step up to the plate like 55, 60 times and every single person says no, you got to step back and say, okay, what is going on? Like, really, what is happening here? Again, I felt terrible. I was telling myself all sorts of stories about I wasn't good enough. Maybe I shouldn't have my own business. Like, I just was on this self-doubt place. And it was so frustrating because I felt like, okay, I've done all the work. Like, I did all the things, right? I had the videos, I had the webinar, I had emails, but all my things were kind of doing their own thing. They weren't working together to create momentum, to warm people up for what my offer was. They were just kind of like delivering tons of value and getting people excited, but not getting them ready to buy. It was just sort of a lot of great info. And, people forgot who I was or that they even signed up for my list. They'd get on these sales calls with me and they'd be like, who are you again? What's this all about again? And I had zero sales. I spent almost 8 weeks by the time I was done with all of my sales calls, almost 8 weeks on this, and it resulted in nothing. And even worse than that, because I had gone so all in on this, like I had ad spend that I'd put on credit cards. I hadn't been focusing on getting more one-on-one clients because I was convinced that people were going to be buying this group program mastermind thing. And I was just devastated. I was like, oh my gosh. But this time I knew enough to step back and really take a look. And what I did is I printed out every single thing that went along with my launch. And I put them, like I just taped them on my windows and my walls. It was kind of a mess. And I just started looking at it all and I was like, wow. Like this video series seemed really good when I was putting it together, but it doesn't actually go with my webinar at all. And my webinar doesn't really go with my email series that people get when they opt in at all. And none of these are really selling my program at all. And I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe that I did this. And that's when, at that moment, I had to go through that failure and I had to print everything off and I had to take a step back and go, I see why nobody bought. Because I had lots of noise, right? Lots of emails, lots of videos, lots of the webinar, I guess just one webinar, but lots of ads, just lots of stuff that was out there. And I felt really, really busy, really, really overwhelmed. I felt like I had gone all in. But when I stepped back and took a look at it, I was like, I was just sort of throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping that something would stick and people go, wow, this girl's smart. I need to learn more from her. Honestly, when I was creating it, that's not what was in my head. But when I took a step back and really evaluated it, that's what happened. And I'm not even going to lie. I was devastated. Can you relate to that? Like, have you done anything in your business where you've tried, you've gone all in, you feel like you've checked all the boxes, you feel like you've done it all, you've studied, you've, really put your heart and soul and probably late nights and some weekends into it, and it's like, it just did not go to plan. For me, I was like, I cannot believe, I was just like, I was going to be honest, like red eyes from crying. And I was just like, I cannot believe I can't make this work. Like, what's wrong with me? But once I got past that and I really started seeing, okay, it's not me, but it's the process that I put in. Like I just was throwing junk at them. I was throwing spaghetti, hoping something would stick and nothing stuck, right? And so the story is not all bad because I ended up, taking that step back. I was cleaning up my wounded pride. I pulled myself up by my bootstraps, and I just created a super simple funnel. Like, super simple. A PDF opt-in that led to a couple more emails that had PDFs that led to a webinar. But this time what happened is I created an experience that people would go through. I created an experience that would attract strangers, warm them up, and get them ready to be buyers. And it must have been like 2 months later, I launched it again, but on the total down low. Like, I did not go all in on ads and all that kind of stuff again. Instead, I just used the list of people that I had already attracted, because I'd spent so much money on ads and all that stuff there, that I just went back out to them and I started warming them up and I started cultivating them into buyers. And within a short period of time, I relaunched that group mastermind. And this time, because it was simple, because I wasn't trying to do all the things that everybody says that you need to do, because I wasn't like a crazy chicken with my head cut off, throwing spaghetti at people left, right, and center to see if something would stick, because this was a really well thought out, okay, if somebody doesn't know me, but they have this need, what would they want? And then how can I, warm them up so that they're going to be ready to buy from me? And that's how I created my first super simple funnel. And the result was I sold out of that group mastermind, which I kind of have been using the term mastermind with finger air quotes that you can't see, because I think it was like $500 or $600 a month. And it was really more of a group coaching program. But not only did I sell that one out, I added 10 new one-on-one clients. And it totally offset my losses from my first failed attempt, plus some more. But it really showed me that, A, I needed to stop doing all the things that everybody always talks about, right? And B, I really needed to know who my buyers were. So, when I shared with you that I had 80 people sign up for a sales call, and I probably did 55 to 60 calls. I don't remember specifically how many I did, but in any case, I had talked to so many people, and I had gotten to know, who am I attracting? What are they asking about? What are they struggling with? Why, how long have they been in business? Like, I started to really know people. And so even though it was really painful at the time, and even though it felt really, really awful to have so many people say no to me, the gift that I got was that I really knew who I was talking to. Like, I wasn't making anything up. I knew these people. And I also knew what they were looking for, what they hadn't found yet, and where the holes were in my own marketing system. So when I relaunched, I was able to, plug a lot of those holes and add a lot more stuff. And that's why I sold out my group mastermind and added 10 new one-on-one clients. I didn't suddenly get magically better at sales. What I got was really tuned in to who my audience was and what they needed to see from me in order to trust me enough to want to buy from me. And I just have to say, it felt really good. And the second time around also, I wasn't in it for the money. I was really in it for the money the first time. And that probably came through in a lot of my interactions with people. The second time, I was like, I just need to prove to myself that I can do this. And so I was coming much more at it from, what's their experience? What are they struggling with? Like, all of these more serving kind of things. And again, I wouldn't really call myself a salesperson, but when the people showed up for the calls the second time around, they just wanted to know how they could work with me. And even I could close those sales. And it just reiterated to me how important it is to know the people, know the journey that they're on, know the questions that they're asking, know the things that wake them up at 3 a.m. and get their heart racing because they're stressed out. When you know those things, it's incredible how much easier marketing gets, instead of trying to show up and sound smart, which is what I was trying to do, or interesting or any of those sorts of things. Because again, marketing funnels are my silent salespeople. So getting really in touch with my audience and speaking to them just as if I was having a one-on-one conversation, that's the behind the scenes warming up that all of my emails, all of my, PDFs, my webinar, that's all the behind the scenes warming up so that the people who had opted into my email list the first time and didn't get that warming up and didn't know who I was, didn't know what this program would do for them, when it was done right the second time, it made sales an absolute breeze because people already knew they wanted to buy. They were just waiting for me to make an offer. So if you've ever found yourself in that situation where you're like, geez, I'm doing all the things, I'm checking all the boxes, like I'm writing my little fingers off, I'm Facebook Living until I'm blue in the face, whatever. If you've ever been frustrated simply trying to build your list, if people are opting in and not doing anything, or if people just aren't opting in, you're really not alone. And once you discover the power of marketing funnels and the power of having the foundation of laying your marketing funnel in, you are going to start wondering why you ever wasted time on just building a list. Instead, you'll know exactly how to build a tribe of buyers. And again, if you want to know which marketing funnel is right for you and your business, and marketing funnels are great for every kind of business, honestly, clothing sales, doctors, professional service providers, consultants, creatives. If you have a product, like funnels can work for so many businesses, but because there's so many options, I want you to know which one is right specifically for you. And so I've created a totally free and easy quiz to help you figure that out. You just have to answer a few questions. So head on over to today's show notes, which you can find at themarketingfunnelshow.com/2, and it's just the number 2. And in less than 5 minutes, you'll know exactly which funnel is right for you. All right, last thing here. I would love your help in spreading this free, valuable podcast to more people just like you. If this was valuable for you, if you can see how marketing funnels could maybe work for you, even if you're not 100% sure how they work, or, if you need to be super techie, which you don't, if you have to, spend tons of money on tools, which you don't, will you just take 3 minutes and rate the podcast in iTunes and write a quick review and share the podcast with just one person who can use it? Your voice helps tremendously in showing iTunes that this podcast is worth ranking and showing to other people, and it helps other people find it. So I would really, really appreciate your help with that, and I will see you on the next show.